Hey, it's Tom, and this is Nikon's 55 to 200mm lens for DX cameras. In terms of build quality, this lens is pretty light. It is about 3/4 of a pound, or about 335 grams, and as you can see, it has a plastic mount. Since this is a DX lens, it's meant for Nikon's DX cameras, which are crop sensor cameras. It will still work if you have a full-frame Nikon camera, but you won't get the full benefit of your camera's full frame sensor. So I would recommend using this more for DX cameras. Also, because it is meant for crop sensor cameras, this lens has an effective focal length of about 80mm to 300mm, because the DX cameras that you'll be using it on, or if you're using it on a full frame camera, it'll essentially sort of crop down and you'll get a higher effective focal length with this lens. So it's a bit more telescopic than it would be if it was a full frame lens. So when you're using this lens, you can still get blurry backgrounds and bokeh with it, even though it is not a fast lens and it doesn't have a very wide aperture. You're still able to get some nice blurred backgrounds when you take photos with this lens. Although it's not as sharp as Nikon's best lenses, you can still get some sharp images with this lens, even on an older camera like the Nikon D5000, which is what I took these photos with. One of the nice things about this lens is that it does have vibration reduction, and that is Nikon's name for image stabilization, and it allows you to take handheld photos with this lens if you have it turned on at shutter speeds that you would normally get blurry photos with. The maximum aperture on this lens ranges from 4 to 5.6, which is not so great, but it's typical with kit lenses to have that range. It makes the lenses easier and cheaper to manufacture, and that's part of why it costs so little. But that's something that you have to consider if you are taking photos in lower light situations. You will probably need a tripod and longer exposures if you're going to do that. The lens is also not the fastest at autofocusing, and it's a little bit noisy, and feels sometimes a little bit clumsy when it is autofocusing, but I don't think that's too big of a deal. You can manually focus the lens as well if you flick the appropriate switch here, and you would manually focus using this front ring over there. Overall, I think that this is a very good lens for a beginning photographer or photographer who's on a budget, doesn't want to spend a lot of money, because you can still take good photos with this lens. You have to work around its limitations, but sometimes that helps you grow as a photographer. As I said before, this lens is a DX lens, so I would skip this if you're using a full frame Nikon camera, but I would consider it if you are using a DX Nikon setup. There's also a version 2 of this lens, which is a little bit lighter and more compact, but overall I don't think that it's necessarily worth the upgrade. It's probably better, in my opinion, to go with this one, which is a better value for your money, and save that money for other lenses or other things. So that's all for the review today. If you have any questions about the lens, feel free to ask them in the comments below. And if you'd like to see more reviews, I'd definitely appreciate it if you subscribed. Take care, and I'll see you next time.